Hey everybody, my name's Commander Eagle 131, and I'd like to show off the United Colonies Navigator Corps Atlas-Class Surveyor. So late one night at the lodge, after having one too many glasses of wine, we got to listening to Sarah Morgan talking about her days as head of the United Colonies Navigator Corps. I'll skip ahead to the important part. She mentioned that the Navigator Corps had a whole line of ships commissioned from Deimos Staryards, much like the other branches of the UC military. Of course, with the Navigator Corps being long gone and all those vessels being government assets, all those ships have been scrapped and stripped for parts. However, Sarah mentioned the plans for each vessel still exist within the UC archives, which gave me a bright idea. Have EG Ship Shop bring them back. The UC government took a bit of convincing, however I 100% threw down the whole "I'm the Thane of New Atlantis, please let me and Sarah play with your old ships" card. So they granted my wish to hand over 3 of their old ship design plans. So between EG Ship Shop, Sarah, and Deimos Staryards, we started to rebuild these nostalgic designs from the ground up. And the first off the assembly line is the UC Navigator Corps Atlas-Class Surveyor. It's a mouthful, I know, but it's already a huge hit with Navigator Corps veterans and explorers alike. The Atlas was considered the workhorse of the Navigator Corps. It performs well as a multi-purpose jack-of-all-trades ship, however its main focus was to be a surveyor. It was built to be first to a star system, to map it out in full, and to assess its viability for a larger mission of discovery. As such, the vessel was equipped with a massive forward sensor array contracted from Tayo. It also features 4 huge helium-3 tanks connected to a ram scoop and a state-of-the-art, for its time, Relodyne grav drive. The 3 systems together allowed for longer missions into the field without having to return home for refuel or resupply. In typical military fashion, it is equipped with some assorted weaponry and a large shield in case any trouble should show its face. Exterior design-wise, it's a very fascinating looking ship. You can tell it has its typical Deimos aesthetics, but it's not quite the same aggressive look that most of us are used to seeing on the standard UC Navy ships. This was likely a conscientious design decision by Deimos at the time. Give the Navigator Corps their own charm, while still having a bit of that standard Navy flair, so people don't forget that the Corps is still UC military. Perhaps one of the most obvious differences is the bottom-mounted cockpit. It's a theme we've seen poring over the various ship design blueprints the government gave us. Sarah mentioned that they were designed this way intentionally because the Corps spent an incredible amount of time looking down. The interior of the vessel contains some basic crew support modules like a berth and captain's quarters, but the prime feature is a central Deimos battle stations hab, purposed as a cartography and command room. I won't go into the full details of the interior here. We'll be giving a full interior tour towards the end of the video, so you can go ahead and skip there if you're curious. Let's go ahead and pull up the spec sheet. It's got a B-class reactor with an output of 39, active crew complement of 6, jump range of 30 light years, a mobility rating of 75, and a total helium-3 capacity of 1270. So specifications-wise, we have a pretty standard B-class vessel. It's a bit of a jack of all trades. It doesn't particularly excel at any one thing, however it can do a little bit of everything. The Atlas will be your metaphorical pocket-sized multi-tool of discovering the unknown, much like it was for the service people of the UC Navigator Corps. So we're about to head off into the shipbuilder so I can show you how to build the Atlas, but before we do that, I need to go over a few disclaimers. First, this will not be a shipbuilder tool tutorial, this will be a ship build tutorial. I'll be showing you how to build this specific ship and assuming that you're already comfortable with the shipbuilder. Second, to build the Atlas to exacting specifications, you'll need rank 4 ship designs and rank 3 piloting, and to be level 60 or above. Again, this is all required for exacting specifications. You'll be able to build the ship without all that, but your mileage may vary based on your own level and skill ranks. Last, this ship relies on some glitch building, the flip glitch to be exact. If you don't know how to perform this glitch build, I'll be providing how-to material during the builder segment. Things like your achievements won't be affected and you won't be branded as a cheater. Alright, we're almost ready to head off into the builder, but first we're going to need to go pick up some Staryard specific modules. First, we're going to head off to Deimos Staryards in the Sol system. We're going to need 1 2x2 battle stations and 4 320 CB landing gear. Next, we're going to head to Hope Tech in the Valo system. We're going to need 2 Habs spines, 2 Polo 2000 cargo holds, 2 Dagama 1010 cargo holds, and 3 Slayton SAE-5660 engines. And that covers everything. So I shall see you in the builder. Alright guys, here we are in the builder. You can see I've got the ship exploded into 2 main sections here. Right in front of us is our main Habs layout. And then over here is what I like to call the big pile of stuff. So this is a big old pile of fuel tanks, structural parts, main modules that really kind of lend to the ship's overall look, shape, and general aesthetics. I often break this pile of stuff up into its own different sections. This time I opted not to because I didn't think it was super necessary. It's a pretty straightforward build and this shouldn't take us very long to do it. I don't think I'm going to have to break this up into different sections in the builder, so I just left it all as one. So before we get started building all this, I will zoom in to this pile a little bit. Since I didn't blow it up, it's a little bit hard to see some of these parts. So I'll just show you real quick. Right up front here, this is where our grav drive's hidden. So one of our main modules gets hidden up front. There's a fuel tank behind it. Then over here around in the back, you can see our B-class reactor is tucked away nice and snug inside this little area here in between our 3 Slayton 5660 engines. So this is kind of our main module setup. I have a shield that gets hidden down there. We'll get to that when we start placing these pieces. But anyway, so that's the layout of the big pile of stuff. Let's go ahead and get started by focusing on our Habs layout. Before we start placing all the Habs, I just want to talk about the ladder situation and the player pathing. So this is a forewarning, this ship is a small ladder maze. I did try to sort of fix that, but, you know, I had to make some compromises. Because this is a roleplay ship, and, you know, the Habs setup that I wanted had to go around the exterior design that I had in mind. This is the best that I could come up with. It's not too terrible, especially once you get used to it. So let's go ahead and talk about the pathing. So the first pathing thing I want to talk about is how to get to the cockpit. So we get here from the landing bay in the docker. We arrive inside of this one companionway here. There's going to be one ladder that goes up into this 2x1 workshop, and then to get to the cockpit, you just go out like this. Go out on these Habs spines, descend one little ladder, and you're in the cockpit. So this is a bit of a roundabout thing. So if this is a bit of a deal breaker for you, you can actually take these Habs spines and move them down if you like so. Okay. The reason I have them up there is because I've got these Polo 2000 cargo holds underneath them to kind of give it this, you know, sailing ship's keel look almost. I like how those cargo holds have that little point there. So if that's a deal breaker, you can just probably swap these two. But anyway, on my build, this is the way it's going to be. Okay. So the second part I want to talk about is how do you access these top floors. So the player pathing, if you want to go upstairs into these more roleplay Habs, you're going to have to come in. You come in through the landing bay into the companionway, up one ladder, and you turn left through the all-in-one berth, and the ladder to get upstairs is in the back of the all-in-one berth. So the path is going to look like this. If you follow my mouse arrow, it'll look something like this. Okay? I tried my hardest to make that a clean ladder well setup. If you know me, I do try. I tried to have the ladder well be on this cube right here, where the companionway is. No matter what I tried, all known to me, vanilla ladder blocking techniques, the game just refuses to put a ladder here. I even tried moving this whole setup back one cube and to have a ladder well here. Game also refused. It's the offender is 100% this battle stations Hab. It won't put a ladder in the floor anywhere but in this corner for some strange reason. I don't know why, but that's the way it is, and that's what I've kind of worked around. So anyway, just know that. It is a bit of a ladder maze, but it's not a very complicated one. So with the ladder talk out of the way, let's go ahead and start placing all our Habs. Okay, so to start placing our Habs, I'm just going to pull pieces off my build and walk you through the Habs layout on a part-by-part basis. And we'll begin with our main pathway from exit points to cockpit. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up a little bit this direction. So go ahead and open up your build menu. Tab over to your landing bays tab. I'm going to start with a shipbed 200 landing bay. It's the one that I almost always use on all my builds. Okay, go ahead and place that in your builder. Next, tab over to your Habs. We're going to place a 1x1 Deimos Hab of your choosing. In my case, I'm using a storeroom. Okay. Let's go ahead and swing our cameras to look at the bottom. Tab over to your, focusing on this point here, tab over to your Dockers tab. We're going to use a 100 DP slim Docker on the bottom like so. Okay. So next, focusing on this point on top of our 1x1, tabbing back over to your Habs tab, we're going to place a Deimos 2x1 workshop like this. Then focusing on the front connector, we're going to be placing our two Hope Tech Hab spines that you picked up from the Valo system like this. Okay. Then fixed to this front point here on our Hab spines, we're going to be placing two vertical 1x1s, so stacked on top of each other, like this. Move this off some. And then fixed to this point here on the lower floors 1x1, we're going to be placing our DS 20.3 Phobos cockpit from Deimos. Just like that. Just be careful it doesn't go up here. We want it down here. Okay. So that's the main pathway from cockpit to exit points. So let's go ahead and get some of these more roleplay focused Habs put on. Move this over. So focusing on these 2 points here on the workshop, we're going to be placing a captain's quarters like this. And then if we swing our camera around to the other side, we're going to be using an all-in-one berth on the starboard side, just like this. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move up one level. On these 4 points is where our Deimos 2x2 battle stations Hab goes. Right. And then in this little shelf here, our science lab. We focus on this point here in front of the battle stations. We're going to be using a Deimos 2x1 computer core. Like this. Okay. Right here, on this point, we're going to be placing a Deimos Arbory. And that completes our main Habs layout. Now that we got the Habs placed, I'd like to talk about the roleplay aspect of the ship and the Habs layout. So if you're not really interested in the roleplay aspects of the Atlas, then go ahead and just skip to the big pile of stuff placement, because we'll be working on that next. So roleplay-wise, let's talk about the first deck. This is the crew berth area. It's real self-explanatory. We have a captain's quarters, a workshop, and a all-in-one berth. I have a workshop here for my own convenience, but if I were to do it any other way, I'd have a Deimos living quarters there. And the living quarters is a really nice wide open interior space, and I often like to put living quarters in between captain's quarters and berths, because it kind of feels like it's a nice little meeting area where the crew can just hang out when they're off duty, and then the two side Hab modules being kind of the more secluded sleeping areas for captain and crew. But on this build, I do have a workshop here because I didn't really have anywhere else to put the workshop, so I did omit that living quarters. So an idea for you guys if you're building along with me and you don't need to have the workshop like I do. So on the second deck here, this is kind of the main brains of the whole operation, where the crew does all their work. So this is the 2x2 battle stations Hab that I referenced in the introduction. You can think of this more as a command and control room, cartography room, rather than a warlike battle stations. The reason is there's a really nice large central mapping table, and that really kind of gives those aesthetic cues of, you know, that's where the crew pours over their charts when they're mapping a system out. This is a surveyor class ship, so it's not a fully blown explorer expedition. It's more of a scout. So this is where I like to think they do all their work in that regard. Right here we have a computer core, and I like to think of this as kind of the main engineering control area of the ship, where they can, you know, access different ship functions, and, you know, really so you can have your Star Trek Scotty, Geordie LaForge moments down here in main engineering. So let's look at this hab here. We got a science lab. I wanted to put at least one kind of, you know, flavor hab on here, and it was the science lab. That was my choice. My reasoning was, you know, it's not a fully blown expedition vessel, but if they do have to land on a planet to do some further testing, you know, they can do, you know, research or analysis of materials inside of here, or, you know, space rocks they collect, whatever. I wanted to have something like a science lab on here, but that's about it. So just know this isn't a fully blown expedition vessel. I do have a very large C-class expedition ship planned for my UC Navigator Corps line of ships, much like the Arc-class Constellation giant roleplay explorer ship that I made a few months ago. So that is coming. So this is not, the Atlas is not going to be the penultimate UC Navigator Corps explorer, just so you know that. Okay, so the last tab I'd like to talk about is this armory. So like, this is another personal preference thing of mine. I am a bit of a role player in game. I try to carry weapons on me that would be reasonable for a human being to carry. So I like to store all of my suits and weapons and such inside of here. So if I land on a planet for a mission, I'll stop by the armory first to have a pick of my poison on what I think I'm going to need to get the mission done. So that's about it for the roleplay notes here. So let's go ahead and move on to the big pile of stuff and get the ship completely assembled. So we're going to be flip-flopping a lot in our build menu between different build menu categories. I'm going to try to keep this as quick but concise and easy to understand as I possibly can. We're going to be starting from the back on the top area. So we're going to be working our way from back to front, top to bottom. We're going to have to go a little bit out of whack here and there, but for the most part it is going to be back to front, top to bottom. So let's go ahead and focus on this back spot here on our Deimos Armory. Go ahead and tab over to your Structurals tab. Find yourself a Deimos Tail A, and it gets mounted there. Okay. Focusing on this spot here in front of the tail, on top of our armory, goes a Deimos Spine A. Then in front of it goes a Hope Tech Marker A, just like this. I'm going to go ahead and move our build a little bit closer. All right, so in front here goes a Deimos Cowling 4, like this. Right. We're going to go ahead and backtrack a little bit. Let's focus on these points here on port and starboard of the armory. We're going to be using a Deimos Wing A, 1 per side, like this. Then again, we move forward 1 block. Port and starboard, we're going to be using 2 portholes, just like so. Okay. So let's get this whole entire engine and reactor area assembled before we finish with these top structural pieces. So let's go ahead and swing our cameras this way. We're going to be placing our reactor right here in this little overhang area. So I'm using the 104DS Mag Inertial Reactor. I believe it's the top tier B class one, so it's going to get fitted there. So focusing on this point, and this point, tabbing over to our engines tab, we're going to be placing our 3 Slayton 5660 engines there. So 1, 2, 3, and mounted just like that. Okay. Next, let's focus on this back spot here on our reactor. Tab over to your cargo holds. We're going to be using this 10T cargo hold right here. And that's going to fit nicely underneath our tail and behind the reactor. Okay, so let's focus on the port and starboard sides of our 5660 engine, our lower one. Still under your cargo holds tab, we're going to be using these 2 Degama 1010 holds that you picked up from the Valo system. They're going to get fastened to port and starboard on that lower engine, just like that. All right. Go ahead and move these weapons off. I always forget to move my weapons off before I start doing these. We'll do the weapons later. Okay, so this completes our sort of, you know, back engine assembly. So now we can finish placing all of these little pieces upstairs here. Okay, so tab back over to your structurals tab. Let's focus on our 2 top 5660 engines. And also we'll be looking at these 2 points here on our Habs up front. We're going to be using a total of 4 Deimos spine A's, 4 in aft. 2 per side, just like this. And then in between those 4 goes 2 Deimos spine B's, 1 per side. So you got this kind of, we'll have this trademarked Deimos Staryard / UC military, you know, spine work on either side. Okay, so to complete that look, we're going to be looking at the sides here on port and starboard, both sides of the ship. We're going to be using 2 Deimos wing A's, 1 per side, like so. Okay. And then behind those, on our 2 engines, on either side, we're going to be just using 2 aft-facing Deimos bumpers, just like this. All right. So let's move forward. On top of our computer core, we're going to be using 2 Deimos spine B's, like this. Gets us a nice continuous line that runs the whole length of the ship. Okay, so let's focus on this little shelf area here. Go ahead and tab on over to your fuel tanks. Find yourself a 500T helium-3 tank, and it's going to get fixed just like this. So while we're on our fuel tanks tab, let's focus on this little empty space here on both sides of the ship. So we're going to be using 4 600T helium-3 tanks. You can use the bigger ones if you want, but I want to kind of save on mass a little bit. So use whichever ones you want. These are kind of aesthetic. Okay, so let's go ahead and move back to this spot. Tab on over to your structural. We're going to be using an aft-facing Deimos cowling there. Then in front of it, on this connector point, we're going to use a Deimos hull A. Up on this top connector, we're going to use a Hope Tech marker A. And then on the front here, we're going to be using another Deimos cowling, flipped 4. Let's swing the camera down to look underneath the Deimos cowling that we just placed. We're going to be sticking a tile forward sensors right there. Okay, just like that. So let's go ahead and get our grav drive fitted. So focusing on this point here, or whichever one applies. I'm personally using this RD3000 grav drive, so whichever one you want to use, it's just going to get mounted in there. There's enough mounting points that any B-class should fit in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the remainder of our cargo holds placed. We have some structural pieces here and here. Those are all the glitch builds, so I'm going to save those for last. So let's get our cargo holds done. So focusing on these 2 points on our Deimos hull A, we're going to be using two 200 cm ballast cargo holds, just like this. Okay. Let's go ahead and move our cameras down to look at the belly of the vessel. So underneath our 2 HopeTech Hab spines are going to go our Polo 2000 cargo holds that we got from HopeTech. Just like that. As you can see, without the landing gear attached, we get one nice solid kind of stripe, one nice solid line that runs the whole keel of the ship. Alright, let's get our landing gears placed now. Alright, so we're going to swing our camera around so we can look at the bottom of our ship. So let's go ahead and focus on the bottom of our captain's quarters and the bottom of our all-in-one berth. So on both of these anchor points, on both sides, we're going to be using our 2 320 CB landing gear that we bought from Deimos Staryards. So 2 like this, and the other 2 on the other side like that. Okay. Next, we're going to focus on our side spots on port and starboard, so both sides. We're going to be using 2 Nova Galactic 10 landing gear on each side of the ship like this. Just like that, okay? Let's go ahead and move to the front now. So focusing on the second deck here on our companionway on both sides, we're just going to be using 2 more Nova Galactic 10 landing gear, 1 per side. Like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at the back again. So tab over to your shield generators. I'm using this side-mounted 28T Defender shield generator. Once I placed all of the cosmetic items, I had a hard time, you know, kind of deciding what style shield to use and where to place it. So I really just don't like things like shields and weapons cluttering up the, you know, the way my exterior hull designs look. So I opted to just take this side-mounted shield generator and kind of cheese it a little bit. We're gonna hide it here in between our landing bay and our 320 CB landing gear. And to do that, we're gonna need to glitch build it. So you can see it's red because the top half of our shield generator is clipping into this landing gear. So we're going to need to use the flip glitch. And if you don't know how to do the flip glitch, I won't go into it in detail in this video, but instead, if you look up at the corner right now, I am linking a card. It's just a 50-second clip where I explain the flip glitch. You will need to learn how to do it if you don't know, because all of these items are going to need to get flipped into place. So go ahead and check that out now. Let's go ahead and get this guy glitched in. So we'll perform our flip glitch. So, and done. Cool. Okay, so let's get the remainder of these structural pieces flip glitched in. So now that we know how to do the flip glitch, or if you already know how to do the flip glitch, we'll start with these pipes. So these pipes are going to get flip glitched inside of our fuel barrels here. The reason is I wanted to have a little more continuity in here. I also wanted to have something more industrial looking that looked like it was linking these 2 fuel tanks together on both sides. So these, originally I had copy glitched down the straight HopeTech pipes that ran all the way across, but I thought it looked a little silly. These look much cooler, the fore and aft pipes. So we're just going to basically flip glitch the aft one to the fore tank, and then the fore pipes to the aft tank on both sides. So let's go ahead and perform that flip glitch now. Oops. Okay, double click and all 4 are connected. Very nice. Okay, so let's move on to the flip glitches for all these pieces here. I'm going to go ahead and move these guns off. We'll do the guns later. Okay, so let's focus on the port and starboard anchor points on our 500T helium-3 tank. We're just going to use 2 Deimos Wing Bs on either side. No glitch building required. They just get placed in just like that. However, we will need to glitch build these Nova Galactic wings in, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to use 1 wing per side, flip glitched to this anchor point here on our fuel barrels. 1 there, and another one here. Cool. Next, let's go ahead and focus on the port and starboard connectors on our grav drive. We're going to be flip glitching these 2 Deimos A-wings in now. I'm going to need to move these guns off too. Go. So let's get our first one placed. You see here how this part's clipping into the tile forward sensors. I wanted to have something here Deimos-like that sort of, you know, if you leave this as a flat face, then this rounded tile curve looks a little silly, so I opted to just kind of put a wing here. And it gives a really cool, like these 2 little headlights sticking out on the sides of our sensors here, and it's, you know, it gives it its kind of trademark Deimos look from the top down. Okay, so the last piece that we have to flip glitch in is this Nova cowling. It's the upside down variant. And we're going to be fixing it to this point right here on the front of this companionway. So we'll just stick it in there and flip glitch it into place, double click, and it's connected. Cool. So I'm going to roll a quick clip of the interior tour section here that I'm going to be doing in the future in a minute here, but just so you can see what this looks like, this Nova cowling does clip into the interior just a little bit, but I don't think it looks too terrible. It's kind of fitting. It doesn't really bug me that much. If it really does bother you, let me show you an alternative. You can actually take a HopeTech Pipes 4 and either copy glitch it or flip glitch it into place there like so. In fact, in one of my old iterations of the Atlas class, I did actually have a HopeTech Pipes 4 there, and they did glitch in to the interior a little bit nicer than the Nova cowling does, but I like the way the Nova cowling looks better from an exterior point of view than the HopeTech pipe. So on my build, I'm sticking this, I'm just going to leave this in. Okay, so the last structural piece we need to place is this bottom facing porthole. I actually almost forgot about it. And that just gets fixed to the bottom of our 1x1 stack right here, okay? And that is it for all those structural pieces. So let's get these guns placed on here. So if you're opting to copy my gun assembly, so back here in the back section, I'm literally hiding these guns. I had guns on top originally, and I just don't like the way the guns muddy up the top of my ship design, so I'm trying to hide these guns as much as possible. So these guys, I've got them placed under here on these 2 wings, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's shooting at the Slayton engine. But, you know, if Bethesda says it's okay, I'm just going to put them there to hide them because I just really don't like the way the guns look up top. So if that bugs you, you can just flip them and put them up here. Now the guns that I did place on the top deck, right here, I've got 2 guns on either side here fixed to this point on the Nova wing, not to be confused with our Deimos Wing B. So I don't have it mounted there. I do have them mounted right here, and the reason is because this glitch here, in my mind, it's not a really smooth blend between the 2 parts, so sticking this gun here kind of hides that ugliness. I really like the way this little channel from the wing, how it sticks out and kind of leads into the fuel tanks. But without something there, I felt it looked a little weird. So having that gun there is okay in my mind because it kind of takes my eyes off of this weird clash right here. So I'm sticking these PB-175s just like that. Okay. And then on the underside of our Deimos A-wings, I've just got these 2 PB-100 auto-neutron turrets. Just like that. Obviously, you can use whatever weapons you want. It's subjective. When I just don't want to deal with killing things, I don't want to deal with long space battles. I just stick these particle guns on my ships and kind of call it a day. So that's what this has. Cool. So that's the weapon placement, and that pretty much sums up how to assemble this ship. So congratulations. But let's go ahead and talk about the paint real quick. So I won't go into every piece's individual coloring. I'm just going to talk about my coloring mindset. I wanted to give this ship kind of your United Colonies look. I know they have this kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, dark teal color scheme going on, but I kind of thought in my mind that's mostly with their military ships. I really wanted the Navigator Corps line of ships to kind of stick out on their own, so I gave them their own type of paint job. I kept that sort of UC teal as the accent colors, but I wanted to have kind of, a lighter color overtone. So we have this kind of cream, not really cream colored, I guess it's more like a light gray for these lines. And then I believe I left these wings the default Deimos kind of gunmetal gray color, just so these pieces kind of fade into the background. You can see here all these Habs are a bit of a darker color than our trim, our spines. I also painted this Hab here. I gave it that same kind of light gray color just so it fits with this central line of light gray. And all these parts have the same teal color. So you can see here, oh, that's a bad example. Oops. Let me pull this one up here. So this is the exact coloring I used for the lighter, more noticeable colors. So you see color 1 and color 2 are identical, and then that's sort of the teal color I used for the UC blue accent coloring. So that's basically my color mindset. Tried to keep it United Colonies themed, but give this Navigator Corps ship its own kind of unique paint job, aside from the standard UC military Navy ships. So with that, let's go ahead and take a quick tour of the interior. So I'll see you inside. All right, everybody, here we are at Egg's Ship Shop, and here is the Atlas-Class Surveyor. Let's go on and head inside. I'm going to jump over here so we can get a wider view of this side. So there's our bottom-mounted cockpit. There's our Nova Galactic landing gear and our big fuel tanks. There's our Polo 2000 cargo holds down there. I really, really like the way these look. How the bottoms have that point. It really kind of mimics a keel of a ship almost. There's all our landing gear. Let's go ahead and head inside. So here we are on in our little companionway entry foyer, however you want to say it, if they even have foyers on ships. All right, let's hop up to this deck here. I guess second deck. So here we are in the middle. This is our workshop that we enter into. There's the bulkhead that leads us down the hallway to the cockpit. We'll go in there last. So here I am looking at the left-hand side of the ship now. We're heading into the captain's quarters. And let's go ahead and go to the other side. So now we're heading back across the center, heading towards the right-hand side of the vessel into the all-in-one berth. And here you can see what I was talking about earlier. This is where the game just, it would not place a ladder anywhere else. It really wanted to place it here, so we had to roll with it. If it were up to me, I'd have the ladder be here. Just one ladder well that goes all the way up. But unfortunately, we can't have that. So the ladder goes here. And let's jump up here. This is the third deck, and this is the the main roleplay area that I was talking about during the building segment. This is the sort of command and central cartography room of the Atlas Surveyor ship. This is where I like to think that the ship can be commanded from, where they do a lot of their charting and mapping. So we're moving towards the left-hand side of the ship now. This is the left-hand side mounted research lab, where they can kind of perform their research and experiments if they need to. Okay, back into the control room here. So we're moving towards the bow of the ship. So this hab, this is what I like. This is a computer core, but this is what I like to consider, you know, the kind of the engineering area where they can control and fine-tune the various ship systems. As I mentioned before, so you can have your Scotty or Geordie LaForge moments. And then back here, there's this ladder here. This just takes you up to the very top of the ship. This is our armory. I got a couple of portholes up here so you can have a bit of a view out. It's kind of obscured by our Deimos spines here on each side, but you know, give you kind of a sense of scale when you look out the window. This is one of my new favorite armories, by the way. It's got the potential to hold many, many, many weapons. I recently learned that you can actually put three rifles and, like, you know, 3 pistols on these vertical display cases. So, you know, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 huge weapon racks in here, in addition to these where you can put 2 rifles and such. So, you know, the armory, this armory is a great one to use if you have lots and lots of guns in rotation. All right, let's go down here. Cool. So let's go back down to the first floor then.
Need help with anything?
So now we're back in the central workshop that we enter into from the landing bay and the docking hatch.
Back, eh? How's it going?
Now let's move through these towards the bow, through this Hope Tech Habs spine setup. This takes you all the way to the cockpit. So let me turn on my, whoops, that's the wrong key. Let me turn on my flashlight here. So if you can see here, this is our cockpit. This is the ceiling, and you can see that, see this gray thing here and those metallic panels. This is where kind of the Nova Galactic cowling is glitching inside of the interior of our cockpit here. As you can see, it's not too bad. I think the most noticeable spot where it glitches in is right here. We've got, you see that big gray thing? That's the Nova Galactic cowling glitching into the ceiling here. But I don't really think it's that bad. You know, it's kind of covering up some of these little pieces here. But again, it doesn't bug me much. But this is what it's going to look like if you choose to put the Nova Galactic cowling up above. But anyway, that concludes our interior tour, and everything is as it should be, and I dare say she's space-worthy. So I shall see you on the launch pad. Well, that just about sums up this video. I hope it was fun, hope you had an easy time following the builder segment, and I am wishing you the happiest journey of discovery with your new Atlas-Class Surveyor. I'll see you in the next one.